University family, welcome to this recording of the financial aid walkthrough session. So essentially, my name's Justin White. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here for Commonwealth University. And ultimately, I'm here with the Director of Financial Aid, Mike Hall. I want to kick it off to him, the expert of financial aid, the man, the myth, the legend. He's going to walk you and your family through the financial aid application so we can best assist you into making this transition from high school to college as seamless as possible. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Hall.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that kind and generous introduction. Yeah, we're going to do a FAFSA walkthrough, and this FAFSA walkthrough is designed so that you can watch it, you can go back and watch it again, you can stop it at certain points. So we're going to move through here at a pretty reasonable pace and kind of give you some of the finer details of all things related to FAFSA. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is the FAFSA walkthrough, so thank you so much for being here. And we're going to start with what is the free application for federal student aid. We know it by the acronym of FAFSA. It's the primary federal form for financial assistance to attend school. It's needed to determine your grant eligibility of your student, federal direct student and parent plus loan consideration, as well as work study and in some cases scholarships. Here's the most important thing. Students must file a FAFSA every year. The financial aid year at Commonwealth University begins in the summer. So that's when we kick off the new financial aid year with the summer term, followed of course by the fall term and then the spring term. So the FAFSA that students are completing for academic year 25-26 will begin covering them for summer 2025, fall 2025, and spring 2026 semester. Okay, so that's a little bit about what it actually is. Again, the most important thing to take away from there is that students must complete the FAFSA every year. In order to get started with filing, there's some really important part here is student and parent contributor need a Studentaid.gov account. And we've included a link here. You can go to Studentaid.gov to start getting your Studentaid.gov account, also formerly known as the FSA ID, set up, registered, and ready to go. Now, some important things to know about the FSA ID or Studentaid.gov account is that you should do this 1 to 3 days in advance before you're ready to actually sit down and file your FAFSA. Okay, so the easiest way to think of this is it's not the FAFSA. Many people will do the Studentaid.gov account and think that they have completed their FAFSA. It's the first step. It's account creation. The easiest way to think of it, before you can go shopping on any popular online shopping platform, you have to have an account. And the same is true for the FAFSA. This is simply creating your account. So again, both student and parent contributor will need to have an account created. Now, for the parents in the room, if you have other students who have been enrolled and you've completed FAFSAs for other students in your family, you are not required to create another FSA ID or Studentaid.gov account. You will use that same account for the student who will be completing the FAFSA for this upcoming academic year. In the same sense, parents, if you were a student yourself and you have an FSA ID, that is the FSA ID or Studentaid.gov account that you will use to finish and help your student with their FAFSA. The FSA ID is tied to your social security number, so we want to make sure that we're not attempting to try to create a completely different account. Okay, so again, that's the part that has to be done before you can start the FAFSA. So if you haven't done your FSA ID yet, you'll need to stop here. You'll need to go to Studentaid.gov and you'll need to create your FSA ID online through the Studentaid.gov website, and then come back and proceed with completing the FAFSA. So assuming that your FSA ID has been created, you are now ready to log in at Studentaid.gov and complete the FAFSA form. So here is my recommendation. Everything you see during this presentation is from the student perspective. Parents, please make your students start the FAFSA. It makes your life so much easier in the end. Students, you'll go to Studentaid.gov. You will log in using your FSA ID and password or your student aid account. and you will go through and you will open your FAFSA form. Now, it's really important because depending on what time of year you're logging in, right now we are in March 2025. So when you jump on to Studentaid.gov and say that you are ready to start a FAFSA, you'll see that there's a FAFSA open for the current aid year that we're in, which is 24-25, and the FAFSA for 25-26 is also open. So we will make the assumption that most of the people watching this presentation will be interested in starting either summer 2025 or fall 2025 term. So you'll want to make sure that you're completing the 25-26 FAFSA. That's really important. So students, once you log in and you indicate that you're completing the 25-26 FAFSA form, you'll get this introduction on getting started. And these first 4 screens are very simple introductions. It's what you can expect. Talks a little bit about who these parent contributors are that I've mentioned several times, what you can expect, and then also what you can expect once you submit the form. They also come with YouTube videos that I encourage you to watch, especially if it's your first time. Take a few minutes and watch these videos and become familiar with the process. The next screen that you're going to see is it talks about providing consent. One of the things that has become much, much easier on the new and streamlined, simplified FAFSA form is providing consent to have your financial information retrieved directly from the IRS. And that's what this section is providing. You, as the student, are providing consent that that information can be retrieved. Now, parents, when you log in to do your part, which we'll talk about closer towards the end of this presentation, you'll also provide consent as well. So the 3 screenshots that you see here walk you through providing that consent as well as some of the other information related to contributors. The first section, students, that you'll see, you'll come to your personal circumstances. So on the personal circumstances, I'm going to walk you through these pretty quick because they're easy questions. We're interested to know, what are your college or career plans? And when you begin the 25-26 school year, will you already have a bachelor's degree? Again, assuming you are a traditional, brand new student, and you're not a transfer, most of your answers to these questions will be first year freshman, and no, you will not have a bachelor's degree. You're also going to go through some questions where they will work to identify whether or not you have any special situations. These special situations related to your guardianship can sometimes result in a different dependency status, meaning whether you are an independent student for financial aid purposes or a dependent student. So one of the other questions that will pop up is student homelessness. So read through these questions and please answer as appropriate. There's additional documentation provided so you know how you should answer these questions. And then we come to a section called Student Unusual Circumstances. So you'll read through this list and you will make a determination on whether or not you meet any of these unusual circumstances, and then answer the question appropriately. Again, there will be some additional information that talks about, well, what if you have an unusual circumstance and you can't provide parental information? So read through these situations and determine if any of these things are applicable to you. Now, after you go through that section regarding your personal circumstances, the FAFSA will make an automatic determination based on how you answered those questions as to whether or not you are a dependent student or whether you're an independent student. So depending on how you answered those questions. So in this particular case, the questions we will assume have been answered that make our student a dependent student. And this is going to be the case for over 90% of our students. All students are going to be dependent. Most of our students are going to be dependent, meaning that they will rely on parents for their care. And as such, parent information will be required on the FAFSA. Now, some of those questions, and if you have to go back and watch again, that's exactly why we've recorded it this way. if you had to answer yes to any of those questions, or you had an unusual circumstance in which you'll be required to provide more information, ultimately, it could be determined that you are an independent student. And in those rare cases where you're flagged as an independent student and provide the appropriate documentation, you will not be required to provide parent information on the FAFSA. But again, in more than 90% of the cases that we work with, students will be considered a dependent student. Now, this question can be very tricky. So we've added some additional things here to make sure that you're clicking the right option. This option says you're a dependent student. Are you interested in a direct, unsubsidized loan only? I would venture to guess that for almost everyone who will be having parent data provided on the FAFSA, the answer to this question is no. Answering yes to this question will take away your ability as a student to be considered for any grant money, as well as the subsidized portion of the federal direct loan. So it's really important that if your parents are providing information, that you are selecting no to this question. And it goes into a little more detail here. It talks about what is direct unsubsidized loan only. So this would be if your parents are unwilling to provide information and you select yes to that question, then you will only be eligible as a student, for instance, as an incoming freshman, freshman standing for $5,500 in unsubsidized loan. Okay, that's the loan. That's the portion of the federal direct loan that the interest begins accruing immediately once the loan is originated. Okay, you also will not be considered for a federal Pell Grant or any other federal need-based grants. So it's really important, again, if your parents are providing information on the FAFSA, the answer to this question is no. Parents, please make sure you're helping your student with the FAFSA. There are times where I know that parents are sometimes unwilling to help with the FAFSA because they are in fear that they will somehow be on the hook for their students' federal direct loans. Please know that by helping your student with the FAFSA, the federal direct loans that your student is eligible for based on this FAFSA are in no way tied back to you. These federal direct loans that we're speaking about are loans that are the repayment responsibility falls back to your student, okay? So then students, we get to a section where you're gonna tell us about your parents. You'll answer these questions, marital status, couple other questions there for you to answer. And then this part's really important. You're going to invite your parent to help you finish the FAFSA, to do their portion of it once you're finished. So the next screen is where you'll input that information. So which parent will be your contributor? You'll put that person's name in here, date of birth, social, as well as an accurate email address. Now, it's very important that this information is correct because this information has to sync with the parent data that was entered whenever they created their FSAID or Studentaid.gov account. So please make sure, students, that you are accurately inputting date of birth, social, and of course, an accurate email address. Parents will get that invitation once this portion is finished to log in then, and we'll show some screenshots of that towards the end to help their student finish the FAFSA. So students, next we jump into the student demographics section, and you're going to answer some additional questions here. And you do have some other questions about parents, parent education status as well. The other tidbit of information that I'll provide here, parents and students, it's important that you sit down to do this together. If you can be in the same room on a weeknight or a weekend, set aside some time. Each of you can be on your own device and work through this together. That way you can make sure that everything is getting done not only accurately, but done in a timely manner. After you answer those questions, students, you'll come to a screen where you'll have to go in and select your high school. And this is pretty intuitive. You'll put in your state, and then from there you can begin searching the name of your high school by just typing the first few letters of it. So you'll go ahead and do that. You'll find your high school. That information will populate, and then students, some additional questions about your finances. So it's going to ask questions about your assets. So go through, answer those questions. Again, these are things that will be probably important for you to have a parent in the room if you're not quite sure of the answers to these questions. And then another really important step is selecting your college or your career school. So in this case, Commonwealth University. So similar to the high school search, you're going to get to a page where you can search by state or you can enter the school code. The recommendation here is flip over to the Enter School Code tab. And on the Enter School Code tab, you'll be able to simply enter Commonwealth University's federal school code 003315. That saves you some extra steps of having to type everything in. Once you have that school code populated, it will come up as Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. Now, as I indicated, this video is being recorded March of 2025. Currently, right now, if you put in this school code, 003315, it will populate as Commonwealth University of PA, Bloomsburg. And that's okay. We still want you to use that school code, whether you're considering Bloomsburg, Lock Haven, or the Mansfield location. Eventually, 003315 will just read Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania. Again, we process financial aid as Commonwealth University. So regardless of your code that you've plugged in, maybe prior to this, maybe you're watching this again, you've already done your FAFSA and you've already put in Lock Haven or Mansfield school code. Please don't panic. Please know that it will all get to the same place. But again, school code 003315. And then finally, you'll go through, you'll electronically sign and complete your application. And once you've signed and completed your application, you'll get a reminder that you're almost there, but you're not quite done because your parents still need to log in, or your parent contributor needs to log in, and they need to finish their portion of the FAFSA. But again, because you've started it and you've done most of the work, it will be very easy for your parent to log in and do the information that they need. So let's jump into just a different view. This isn't a screenshot, but this is a sample email, parents, that you'll receive, basically indicating that your student needs some help completing their FAFSA. And parents, this is where you'll be able to link directly in to Studentaid.gov. You'll be able to log in there with your ID and password, and you will be able to see on your dashboard that you have a student that requires your assistance. You need to go in and help that student complete the 25-26 FAFSA, and you'll do so by, again, going in and providing your consent to the federal government, just as your student had did regarding finances, as well as providing some of your financial data, and then, of course, signing and submitting. It really is that easy to complete. The recommendation, again, is that you do this together. Please save this video, come back to this link, go through it again. We move through here quickly, but it really is that simple. The FAFSA has been simplified over the course of the last 2 years. And I will tell you, it's a 15 to 30 minute project. If you have everything you need and you're together and you're logged in and you have your FSA ID completed, I would tell you that most people can have this complete within 15 to 30 minutes. So it's very important that you file your FAFSA every academic year. We want to make sure that you're doing it quickly and accurately and on time each year. More information will be forthcoming about the Pennsylvania State Grant. So for Pennsylvania residents who are watching this, the important filing deadline to be considered for a Pennsylvania State Grant is May 1st. So you want to make sure that you have your FAFSA filed and complete by May 1st. Again, more information to come on Pennsylvania State Grant as it becomes available through the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, also known as FIA. But in the meantime, get started on this FAFSA. We are one financial aid office with 3 locations, and we process financial aid, again, as one financial aid office. But if you need to reach out to us, each of our individual numbers are located here at Bloomsburg, Lock Haven, and Mansfield. You can also email us. We share, again, the same inbox, and we have ways that you can meet us in person. You can see our office numbers there, the building that we're located in. It's really important to know that we have people here who are ready to assist you. So thank you so much for tuning into this. Again, please save it. Please revisit this link. And most importantly, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any other questions. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Justin White.
I couldn't have said it any better, Mike. Thank you so much for this. Families, again, if you have any questions, we're just like Mike said, we're one financial aid team, but also we're one admissions team as well. So this is a key part in the next steps to make sure that you and your family have a smooth and easy transition from high school to college. So again, if you have any questions, you can always email us, call us as well, and we'll provide you with any help and direction that we can to better assist you and your family. Have a great day. Have a great evening. See you soon.